Okay, so it's 4:17 on the 11th, and I cut my hair. I don't know if it's obvious, but I did it. Um, it's funny too, because then you think like, well, did I give in to impulses or did I follow direction? It's so weird. But anyways, I love it. So I'm chalking it up to following direction. So I'm so glad I did it now. And I was a wreck doing it. Like that was a lot of hair. My hair was down to like my waist. And and I kept going little by little by little, but yeah, especially this part. And then all of this is layers. So I did it like, on TikTok, it keeps showing how to cut your hair by yourself, like, and do these layery haircuts. And you put ponytails. So you put a ponytail in the front. So you divide it. It's your ears. And then you put a ponytail and it comes out like a unicorn. And then you make a ponytail back here at the rest. And you put it up high. Then you pull the hair towards the front. And, I think mine, I cut it to like right about here. And then when you let it go, all the different layers go because it's all layered now. And yesterday I had it, and I didn't have to sleep with a braid in. Oh my God, it just feels so much lighter. But I had pulled it up. I was putting oil on my face, so I put it up in a bun on top of my head. And then I could see, oh my gosh, I have a ton of new growth. So there's tons and tons of new growth that was all there. So whatever, I'm not sure if it's this biotin, because usually I pay attention to my nails. And my nails are still not like really growing. They maybe feel stronger, but definitely there's new growth. So I don't know. I don't know. I was going to go back and use my other biotin, but maybe I will. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, I like my hair and I'm glad I did it. But it was like, I did a little bit and then I did a little bit more and then a little bit more. So, took a while, but then I was like, oh my gosh, I like it. Okay. So I already said it was 4:17 on the 11th and I just got a cup of tea. So, I'm so tired. Fuck. I did not want Stella woke me up, but I did not want to get up. And she is so fucking stiff. And that's the one thing too about these plasma pills is it's supposed to relieve inflammation. And so I'm definitely going to get those and try them. And then there's also a push on, because I know that they're making some kind of dog vitamin or something that's supposed to extend their life. And there's people marketing off of that. Because there's all sorts of people marketing off of the medbed thing. But there's people marketing off of that. And there's an NAD for dogs. So I'm thinking I'm going to get that too. This month is tight because of Christmas and still paying my car off for the getting all that stuff done to it before I left. Hold on. But I'm gonna get those. I guess I was thinking, especially this morning when she's getting up, she's so stiff. And she takes all this glucose to me and she takes collagen. So it's like, well, it's got to be the inflammation. So I'm gonna try that. And okay, so that's just one thing. And she woke me up at like 3:15. I was so freaking, I did not want to wake up, man. So I feel really out of it. So 4:17 on the 11th. Today's Thursday, I think. Pretty sure it's Thursday. I cannot believe how fast these weeks go. Like, fuck, tomorrow's gonna be Friday again, then it's the weekend again. Swear to God. That is so crazy. Oh, and the sky here. Oh my God, the sky is insane here. Like, this is definitely a spot where the worlds are merging. It is insane. I can't even believe the sky. And I did a whole bunch of videos yesterday. Not just on here, but I did a bunch on TikTok too. And on here, though, some guy, comes in trying to be all like, like I'm a kook or whatever, even asked me if I was drunk or something. And it's so crazy how the people who are disconnected, like some people call them NPCs, some people call them, stupid, like all those different things. They're just like so disconnected in reality. It's like they're so caught up in their own reality and they can't see past it. And it's like they're prescribed to this false identity that they can't let go of. And they're not connected to their soul. Especially like, oh, are you drunk? Dude, I don't even drink or do drugs or anything. So, no, I'm just connected to a world that you don't have access to. It's like, get right with your spirit. Like, God damn. Because you're not going to see if you can't see, the blind cannot see. You cannot see what you don't have awareness to. And so, anyways, but the sky is wild. Like, man, yesterday I was like, oh my God, it's going to be something in the sky. Something like our sky is going to suddenly open up or, I don't know. But there's definitely going to be changes in our sky. Which I saw another, hold on a sec. I saw another video talking about this kid. Like, lots of people are listening to the one kid. He's become a TikTok sensation. The kid who was talking about the tsunami that's coming. And then I was thinking, there's so many people who keep saying this about between the 19th and the 25th, and then people saying like Christmas is going to be this big thing, and it's all scattered throughout different groups. But then I saw this video yesterday of this kid. So it's a kid on Reddit, apparently. And he had predicted, which thing was it? Hold on a second. It was Hawaii, the hurricane in Florida. Oh, the earthquake in Turkey. So he predicted the earthquake in Turkey and what day it was going to happen and everything. And then people were like, oh, whatever, dude. And then it happened. It happened the day he said. So then he got all these tons of followers. So then he made another prediction. And he said that he predicted the Hawaii fires on the exact day and stuff. And everybody again was like, oh my God. Then it happened. And so then he predicted the Florida hurricane in 23 or 24. I can't remember the exact dates. Maybe it was 24. But he predicted it on the date in the category 5 or something. And then it happened the way he said. He's got this huge amount of following now on Reddit or something. Which I don't go on Reddit. I don't even know if this is a whole made up thing. But, so now he's saying, and he doesn't want photographs of him or anything, he says. He doesn't want people to know who he is or anything. He won't do interviews or anything like that. So he said that he sees, hold on, my nose is so tickly. That he sees the 31st of this month is going to be the Cascadia fault line, whatever he said. It's going to be a 9.5. It's going to cause huge amount of destruction. And he was saying people need to evacuate now. You got to get out of there. Which is, my granddaughter is over on that side. And, but I was thinking, okay, but I think she should be in town with her parents for the holidays. And I think that would still be considered a holiday because that would be the day before the new year. So usually kids from school have off for that whole time until after the new year. So, teachers and stuff can go home too. So, anyways, we'll see what happens about that. I don't know. Because that one, who was that? It was somebody, it was an older person. I can't remember when they predicted it. Because there's people who have predicted things like in the 70s and 90s. And these things keep happening. this, but this person who said about the 19th, oh, that was that one kid who had the NDE. So he had died while he was dead. He said Jesus showed him. He was showing him these dates and this like calendar thing and showing him like visions of what was going to happen. He said shit was going to start on the 19th. And then and for 4 or 5 days, it was going to be just one disaster after another, which it's already heating up. Like we already have got, and there keeps being these big aftershocks and stuff. So everything is moving under. I mean, like I know the landscape and stuff is going to change, which somebody just told me on TikTok in my comments, that a girl that I talked to, she said she was so excited. She finally got all her kids out of California, and which my brother and stuff is over there. Like, fuck, man. Hold on. And he's a fireman. Like, ugh. Everybody's on their own journey and their own storyline. And who knows what's going to happen, you know? I know shit's going to go down there, though. I'm so glad that I moved. They've got bad flooding over there right now. Oh, and I'm so glad I moved. But so, that kid said that was the NDE. But I swear there's other ones that have had these predictions on these same dates. But the... what is it? So this one, the Reddit kid, he said the 31st is going to be this huge earthquake, and he's been completely accurate on dates and places for these four, you know, and he said, I don't know why I can see this stuff. It just comes to me and I just know it. And that's how, you know, vision and insight works. And, so anyways, you know, it all remains to be seen. Oh yeah, okay. So she had said she finally got her kids out of California. And she was telling me, you know, the different places they moved. And she said, I think she said Kentucky. I asked a clarifying question. I was like, Kentucky is doing that? And she said that there's rural towns that are paying people $7,000 to come there and start building up. I said, this is going to happen. I said this, whatever. I think I've been saying it for years. But there's going to be these incentives to move to certain places, and in rural communities they're going to be giving money to start like new towns and stuff, because there's got to be places, because cities are going to be, it's not just the coastal line, there's going to be places, you know, they're going to, when shit starts going down and like, okay, it's like super fast. Okay, so like disasters start happening and things start going down, like grid and supplies and stuff like that. Well, in the cities, it's going to turn into chaos, and it's going to be violent too, because people are going to be panicking and stuff. And then there's going to be more things. There's going to be just a lot of things going on. Like, I think some big stuff is going to happen with the Great Lakes. And so anyways, there's going to be the necessity of new places to go to. So it's like, that's what happens when you start over, you know. When one place is gone, you got to start in a new place. And so anyways, I'm going to find out where that is. They're giving, so I mean, $7,000 isn't a ton. It's like, well, how are you going to build a house or something? And but see, Donald had talked about before the freedom cities, and he was talking about starting one. And then it's so crazy because it's always like this stuff just, you know, but but he was going to start 11, and I know this stuff is going to be coming because it's the changing of like wealth. It's like changing into us getting back. Oh, when you think about the giving out, like when you think about what you put out comes back to you, This is like all the people who have been working hard to keep this world going. So everybody who's been working and going to jobs and all that stuff, that energy is going to come back. So, and it's been a big thing for us to all do that. And then, so as humans, that energy is going to flip back. So it's like finally everything comes back to us where they have been creating obstacles like inflammation and stuff to make sure that we stay in a position of so they stay in a position of authority and we stay in a position of poverty and dependence. So then it's going to flip, so the energy that's been being put out will come back. And that's when what do they call that, the biggest wealth redistribution thing that's going to happen in our lifetime or whatever. But it's a lot of lifetimes. Like this is a big cycle. So anyways, but this one place is giving money, and I don't know, if there's other incentives too, where giving land or anything like that, because $7,000 isn't really going to do much for if you got to go out there and you got to put in, because you get permits and shit like that, which on my my stepmom's land, now everything is stopped. That one has been such an ordeal. And that one guy who was trying to rip her off, like that's how we all see it, trying to use my stepbrother, because my stepbrother now has talked to my brother for a long time and said, hey, I'm on the clean, and I'm like, he's trying to get his life together. He's trying to take care of his mom. These people have come in and they're trying to take the land. They started moving shit on it and stuff. And I was like, dude, that's like homesteading. And you can take people's land away from them. And so anyways, it's a whole thing of getting them. We may have to get a lawyer or whatever and cease and desist and tell this guy you have 24 hours to get your stuff off. So anyways, there's a whole thing about that. And now she just wants to stay there. She doesn't want to go anywhere and just live there. My stepbrother says, she's old and fragile, and he doesn't think she has a lot of time. And so he said once she's gone, then we'll just figure it out. He said he'd love to stay there, but he didn't know that he could afford it. But there's going to be a lot of things that are going to change. And then they said, if I wanted it, that I could go there. And so anyways, so that's where we're at again now. It's just this land is sitting there, just wait and see what happens next. But so we're not doing this sale. These people are trying to take it away from her because they were trying to lowball her. And then once we got the accurate amount of what it's worth, he don't want to pay that. And then, so he's just trying to move his shit on there. It's like, what? Even though there was some county person out there or something and says something to him, like, you can't be doing that. You need permits and stuff. And he goes, well, I'm just going to come out here and start building a house. I'm just going to put a house out here. He's like, you can't do that. I was like, what in the hell? That's why, we do in this society need laws and stuff, because there's so many unlawful people. There's so many just corrupt individuals who take advantage of people. And so, but for people who have morals and stuff, we don't need cops because we police ourselves. So, anyways, but that's more the world we're going into, where it's like we've learned how to police ourselves. We don't need these other people stepping in and monitoring us because we know how to treat people. And so, hold on a sec. Almost finished. There's a huge amount of sludge at the bottom. All those powders, which yesterday I was making up my tea concoction. And like it has moringa, lion's mane, spirulina, dandelion root, ashwagandha, beetroot. I was putting matcha, but I just ran out of it. I think that's all. But some of the things you're not supposed to just like take tons and tons of it. And like on the lion's mane, it has like it's like some of these powders are kind of like so you can make up your own capsules and then take them as capsules, which maybe I should do that. Maybe that's my problem. I'm drinking too much of these powders because I was sitting there mixing and I was like, fuck, I have no idea how much I'm getting of each thing when I'm just putting a scoop of it in my tea. I call it my tea, but it's a bunch of roots and stuff like that. So I don't know. Anyways, it's a guessing game at this point. We don't really have direction. You just got to kind of figure shit out for yourself. So, anyways, let me think. This was something, well, last night. So, Stella's super whiny. We went back down to the river yesterday, and when we were down there for a while, this bee would not leave me the fuck alone. It kept attacking my face. But so we were down there for a while. Oh yeah, we even Max and Ruthie and Matt and Archie all took off and went into the coyote yard, is what I would call it. This 8 acres, which I don't even know how many more acres are next to his, but the 8 acres that the guy had bought that he can't access, which is such shenanigans. I don't even get how you can sell something like that. So, yeah, you got to sell it to somebody who's got a helicopter. Well, my brother said, or you can boat in, but it's like, well, how do you boat in like somebody coming and putting your well? I mean, you're living rough. But I know there's people out in the swamplands and stuff that live like that. They go get access to their place by boat and stuff, so it's not like unheard of. But anyways, he's an orthodontist. I'm sure he wants a nice big driveway, the big metal gate, big old thing. But anyways, so but nothing's done on his land. It's just wild territory. And so they're walking, and so me and Stella start following, and there's this path. So I was thinking that's probably the path that the coyotes or deers or whatever use. And then as we're going up, I can see this big spot where it's a totally different color and totally different stuff. And it was making me think about those, what are those called? They, when those fields and they have those pictures in the fields, and then they say, oh, somebody went and did that, and other people are like, no, a spaceship came down and did it with frequency. I can't think of what they're called. But anyways, as we're walking, I'm thinking, God, that looks so much like something like that. Like everything is laid over. It's not in a design, though. It's like a ship came in and landed or something, and it's totally different color. Totally different color, and everything is laying down, and it doesn't have all these giant tumbleweed bushes, which these giant tumbleweed bushes are kind of these thorn bushes, and they're all over the place. And like I said, there's some ginormous. And I would know that there are thorns because I was picking up a bunch yesterday over by our yard and throwing them over in his yard because his yard is just a giant tumbleweed. I had thought until I was walking in there, and then I saw that spot, and then Ruthie is just the wildest, man. And she goes running through, and she just is a jumper, a runner, plower. She's just wild. And Archie was following her, and they went out, and they were running and jumping. And it sounded kind of like, I don't know, I guess like cornfields that were dried up or something. It had like a crunch to it, kind of like leaves or something, but it was big. I don't know what those were. I don't know how they were. They were like orange or something, like this bright gold color. And it was just this big patch right in the middle of all this other. It's like, that is so wild looking. So it was really fascinating to me how it was like that. And then So the dogs are, they all had to go run in it and, you know, run in it and run around and run back. And so then we started walking back and we go back down to the river, and then they play in the river. And I know that's part of what has made Stella so stiff, is that there was a lot of like walking and then in the mud, in the river, you know, and she's got a, and it's kind of like you slide like it's like the river bank is muddy, and then it has like a sludgy mud, which I'm saying is like this clay, like you could use it to build houses. I'm sure they used it back in the day. And then you're in the water. And then once you're in the water, my brother said it's hard surface. But in the sludgy stuff, it grows tons and tons of cattails. There's tons and tons. I'd cut a path through the other day. There's so many. And I was talking to my brother and the other day, and I said I had cut a path through, and I was talking about things that we were talking about down there at the river. That's what he told me. Like, it's hard surface once you get in there. And he said, yeah, if you're down there, you can still find arrowheads and stuff. I said, I knew it. I knew that there was, you know, that this would have been a place there was tribes. And he said, yeah, it's on, he said, I think it's the Oregon Trail or something, but it's on one of those big explorer paths, which, you know, I'm telling you, there was battles. And, okay, remember, which I just heard that Pocahontas was like 12 or 14 or something. She wasn't a beautiful woman who, you know, went to show them. She was like a kidnapped little girl. And, but I was talking about this the other day. So these groups who had these other tribesmen going with it, like would pay, it was something. Some of them were kidnapped, but some were given stuff, but they'd use them like trackers and stuff. So not all the like it wasn't like all the tribes were against these peoples. It was lots of different situations. But so they would go and they'd have other ones, but I think they had like a front group, like the ones kind of like in our world, I guess, kind of like Marines would be the front. They would be or special ops, which is a whole fucking weird thing about that. They don't let women in special ops, but there's this whole thing of this woman who's married to a colonel who is doing these interviews, saying this stuff that is like, and her things may be old and they've just resurfaced. Her things could be from the 90s or the 70s or something. But she said that there's a reason why there's no women. Now there's more women in this service. I don't know if they're in special ops, but she said it is a very gay culture. She said her husband used to get drunk and then start telling her stuff. And in order to become certain advancements, you have to be cornholed by the rest of the group. And he said, it doesn't make you gay. That's just the way it is. She's like, what? And so there's a lot of boy games going on in this whole thing that's very in their like they don't really like women. I don't know, it's the whole thing. Like, you can go listen to her interview thing. It's resurfaced as a whistleblower, I guess, to give clarity on that. But anyways, so in the group of so if you have the explorers, because I can see it too in like different groups, like even you know, like the King's Army of England or whatever, and the knights. But there would be a group that would go out ahead, the scouts, like scouts. And so there was like these scouts or something, these tribes that were like scouts. And maybe those were the cleansers. Like they had to, if a group was not open to these explorers or these groups coming in and taking, and possibly bringing in missionary, taking kid. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on in order to take the land from these people. And that is where there was battles and stuff. That's why I said it wasn't just like the white guys. They were they've always used other people to do their dirty work. And especially over here, they couldn't just come and drop off, the whole king's army into here. So they had to recruit. And there's always a lure, well, we'll give you this if you do this. That's why you have to have moral aptitude so that you aren't bought in by these people, which I think that's a big thing of all of these stars surfacing over, what they, and that's something each one has to face in themselves, what your lure was, what you were willing to sell your soul for. And so anyways, but that's a whole fucking thing surfacing too on people, like, because that's what people are doing about everybody when they talk about them, is talking about, what sellouts they are and sold their soul and stuff. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So anyways, but there was like the path, then they had like the scouts, and then there could be some battles because the explorers couldn't go out there and fight all these people. So they had to have, and some were like prisoners and pirates and shit that they would bring over. And so it wasn't just like, the king's army. It was like all these, criminals. And then they would also lure in other tribes. And it could have been, that certain tribes were in very desperation, or they could have been very warring tribes. Like, there's a whole lot of different things. It could have been tribes that, were already massacred and there was only a few guys left and they were desperate for, it was all different things, They could have gone in and massacred their tribe and then took some of them and said, hey, if you don't want to be massacred too, you better do what we say. So there's lots of things, lots of dramas, but that's what we're all here for, all these unique drama stories, and not just one storyline. There's tons. And so, so they would send these scouts out, and then they could start battles. So, but there was battles and massacres that went on through some of this stuff. And that's what I'm saying, is like this hostility that is remaining in this land, and that to me shows because of the thorns, and some with even, all these. Right now there's not tons of flies, but there was a few flies that was coming yesterday. Yesterday was really warm. It was weird, but it's been so cold, that a lot of bugs can't live through the cold like that. So that's the good thing about places that have winter, is like, because places that don't have winter get overrun by so many bugs, and then the bugs get bigger and bigger, and it's like, ugh. And I used to live down south, and roaches and all that stuff up here isn't like, I mean, there could be roaches in Idaho, like if you lived in apartments. I think there could even be some in some apartments in Washington. I mean, some people have brought in roaches and moved them all over the place, because roaches just go into your stuff. Roaches are quite the bug. But anyways, but up here, typically up north, there is not a lot of bugs, especially ones you have down south. And so anyways, so my brother was telling me, if you go out there, you can still find arrowheads and stuff, which I was like, but you can find all sorts of artifacts. I bet you could find fucking bones in the sludge, because the mud comes and covers, water comes and covers up the old world. That's how we can basically know that's what's going to happen here. Our world's going to be covered by mud and water, and it's flipping over into the next phase. And when I was saying it to my brother, and I was saying, I know that there's some kind of hostility that's left here. And that's where he's like, I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, we need to do a ceremony when you go. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And it's like, that's why I said I'm like so different than everybody in my family. I'm such an oddball to my family, but I do believe in that stuff. But I was thinking about, because one of my granddaughters was a lot like me. I was like, I should get a hold of her and see if she wants to come out and do a ceremony with me. Because we were going to go to Mount Shasta, but then all the fires started and I got really intimidated. It's like, fuck, man. Go out there and we get on the roads and we get trapped over there in some of these places, because it happens all the time where people get trapped on these roads and stuff. So anyways, I was like, oh man, I don't want, and this was years ago, but I regret it all the time now. I was like, damn it. Now she's older, and so I should have went right then. We should have went. It was my own. Sorry. Honey, you're fine. Just move around a little. I know you're not comfortable. I know that my own fear, your fear gets in your way of your experience so often. And so, anyways, we didn't do that, but I was like, oh, I wonder if she would come out here and do a ceremony with me of clearing the land and stuff. And then my other daughter too, that was in Thailand, who said that they do that there when you get land and stuff, and try and clear out the spirits that are kind of, it's not just spirits that are trapped. It's not just ghosts or something. It's an energetic force. It's an energetic surge, like this energy happened that was really intense, and it like creates its own energy. And it's, so it becomes like this hostile energy. And there's a reason why there's a lot of hostile energy around all over the place in our world, is because of such huge massacres and so much negativity, and so much interference in our lives as, free beings. And so, anyways, I've been thinking about that. So last night, I was, and so I already been talking about that. I already been thinking about that. And I already have been saying about this, you gotta be careful. Step over. Her bed's right next to my bed, and sometimes she goes down in the between. And then it's hard for her to get her, it looks like it's hard for her to get out of the mud because she's got the hip dysplasia and arthritis. She's got to come over here and be right next to me. She likes to be touching me. I love you, sweet girl. I love you, little lady. You gonna lay right here by Mama? Oh, goodness. Gosh, she's cute. I'm gonna miss her so much. I don't want her to leave me. I just want to get her better. She's my best friend. Yesterday I was getting so emotional about horses, and I know that she has been my horse before. I had visions of that. But anyways, so last night it was around, it's 6:30. It was already like, I don't know. It always is, and I know that's why she woke up at 3, because it was 12 hours since she ate. Because yesterday was another one of these days, they eat every couple hours. And so then when she wanted to eat again, like at 5 or 6, I was like, no, you just ate. And so there we are at 3, because if I let her eat again at 6, we would have probably slept till like 5. But anyways, so they ate like at 3, then they come in and they're all kind of like laying around, and then they start going to sleep. And so she wants me to lay with her on the bed. She's taking up on the fucking bed sometimes. So the way she'll lay, she wants to lay, and then she wants to get closer and closer and closer to me, where I'm like on this much of the bed, I'm hanging off, I'm half on her bed, and I'm like, ugh. So anyways, so we're laying there, and I fell asleep. And so it was around 6:30. I think I had looked at my thing to see what time it was, because I was like, fuck, this is early. So I put on the ocean waves, and the curtains were closed, and these curtains are pretty dark out anyways, but it was pretty dark by then anyways, by 6:30. And so yeah, I think it's dark by between 5 and 5:30. And so I was laying there, and I fell asleep, and then something happened to wake me up. I'm sure it was something she did, something whining. And so I was just laying there, and then I started hearing the coyotes. And I was thinking, I wonder if they smelled us, and so they tracked over to here. And so they're out here by our place again, and they were carrying on. But being in here and laying and listening to them, I was like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like a bunch of Indians hooting and hollering, like what they show in the, like, I don't know, I wasn't there. It seems accurate that they would come in on horseback and be like, hoo, hoo, they're making these noises. Yeah, oh. Like all these, like, not like warring, but like, not like celebrating, but like an energetic kind of build up. And, I could not believe it. They did not sound at all like dogs. They sounded like Indians on horse. That's all I could see. And I was like, see, what I'm saying is like this energy. And even in spirit, they can come through animals and stuff. I was like, fuck, I know, I just know I'm right. Especially, oh yeah, you can go out there and buy all this stuff, which I knew. I mean, that wasn't like some big stretch. If you're by the river, then you can figure, there was older, there's been older, what is that word? Civilizations that have already been there. Because, well, in some places, the waterways have changed. But this one has been, I mean, that's why it's called, my brother was telling me the reason it's called the Snake River is because when the Indians that all lived on it, and that they would, when they were trying to tell, by the river, that they would do this as the sign of the river. And so then the people thought that they were saying it was a snake. So that's why they named it the Snake River, something about that. So, anyways, this one has been around, for that much time. And I'm sure a lot of them. I'm sure there's lots of places. Over in the Pacific Northwest, there was tons of tribes, and you could go out and dig up and find stuff. So there's lots of places where there was This is like a heavily, the world was not like, it was heavily populated, I think. But it wasn't, they weren't at the same rate of technology and civilization. Like, it was different. Like, there was some that you would think were more ahead. Like, they had certain kind of weapons. They had been living in a more structured society. The structure was different for the tribes. It was more of a, like, this basic kind of living that we're going to go back more to, where it's like, it's a different way. But then the people who took over started structuring society in a formatted way of control, and then that started leaking out. And when they came over here and started taking down people, it's like they were more the powerful, they were more ahead technology and stuff like that, just like what we're still under this control. And these people are still ahead of us. They still have more technology. They still have, and then they spend so much time and energy and money on testing and trying to understand us so that they can outsmart us all the time, so that they can manipulate us. So anyways, but that's the past. That's, that's all ending. So, we're going into a new beginning. It's going to go change off of that, but that's the way it's been. But, anyways, when I was listening to them last time, I was like, that is for sure. Like, it was like the spirit in the way that they came and were going. It was so much like these, this group of I just could see it. I don't know. It was weird. And how much it sounded like it just did not at all sound like dogs at all. And it sounded just like stuff I've seen in a movie or something. So anyways, that was that. And I was watching this movie yesterday, and it was called Winter Winter something. And I meant to look up the people's names that were in it. I always forget some of these people, I can't remember their names. But it's all people who you would know who they were. There was a lot of people in this movie. And it was on YouTube. I never heard of it. And so I started watching. I can't remember how it was labeled. If it was sci-fi, romantic, or it was paranormal or supernatural. It was definitely a supernatural movie. So it was this guy. I think he's an Irish actor. I can't remember his name, but he was a big heartthrob one that all the girls are crazy over. Which I just heard another thing about him on one of these gossip kind of people, and they said that a lot of people think he was like a big bad boy, and he was always getting in fights and stuff. And he said he got kicked out of high school, but the thing he would fight about is his brother was gay, and if people would make fun of him, that's what he would fight about. He would fight people for being mean to his brother or making fun of his brother. And that he's very much about protecting people's rights and stuff. So he wasn't just like some drunken hooligan or something that would go out fighting. That was a misrepresentation. He's much more socially conscious and caring for people who are, you know, not cared about by other people, I guess. And so, anyways, but I can't think of his name. I don't know why Graham keeps coming into my head, but I know that's not his name. But I can't think of it. He's got black hair. He's real cute. He's kind of a shorter kind of guy. But anyways, he's the main character. And then also that Australian guy who also has a reputation of being a hooligan. But I think he was. And I think he's the one Meg Ryan left her husband for when they did a movie together. And he was a womanizer kind of guy. He was in a lot of movies, like L.A. Confidential. He was in tons and tons of movies. Gladiator. But I can't think of his name either. But anyways, so he is the so what is that? The antagonist and the protagonist. But so I think the protagonist is the good guy and antagonist is the bad guy. So it's the bad guy to the good guy in this movie. And Will Smith, can't remember his name. He's been in the news a lot lately, though. So Will Smith, he is, we all know, I mean, if you don't know what he's in the news for, you can just go look it up. But he is not a hooligan. He's more of a flamer. But he is, so he's Lucifer in this movie. And which was just, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, you know, knowing this, the way he is more. And then this part, it was just kind of like, oh, it's kind of miscasting. It's better as a, I don't know. So anyways, he is Lucifer. And then this girl from Downton Abbey, she is this girl. And then there's some other women too. And like, what is that one? Jennifer, I can't remember her last name either. The dark haired one. I think her name's Jennifer. But anyways, it's got a whole bunch of people in this movie. And so it starts out in like 18 something, I think. And at first I thought it was like reincarnation, what it was about. Because it was like 1845. And it was like coming across on a ship, and it was these two parents, and then she gives birth, and they put the baby on this little boat thing and send it out into the ocean. Like it's on its own. And that's the main character guy. So maybe it's trying to follow the story of Jesus or something. Maybe that's what it is trying to do. I think it's called Winter Story. But anyways, so he goes out and gets found, but I guess he's found by one of the demons because Lucifer is Will Smith and the Australian guy, he is a demon and he bows down to Will Smith. And so, and first part of it, I wasn't paying enough attention. And, but then all of a sudden, so this was like in 1845 or something. It was like, and then all of a sudden it's like 1910. And so now he's an adult and he's being chased by the demon and all his demon fellas. Like the demon guy has a whole bunch of minions. So, and they're kind of how they were saying it when they were talking, like the demon and the Lucifer. It was like there's tons of humans who will sell out and become like the little minions. They'll do what they're sellouts. And so, like they'll sell their soul for jewels or whatever. And so, so he's got all these bad guys that follow him around. And so in this, so it has him come floating up, and then all of a sudden it's 1910, and now he's being chased by them, and he's running, and they are after him, and he goes down this alley, and they're closing in on him, and he looks over, and there's this white horse, and the white horse bows down to him and has him get on. And so when he gets on, the horse is also a Pegasus, but its wings are more etherical, like you ethereal, like whatever, with more fantasy. Like he's not just standing there with wings, he just looks like a white horse. But then when he starts running, all of a sudden these like wings come out, and it's really cool. And so he gets on this horse, and the horse takes off and it kind of goes in a circle and takes off and runs and goes over this gate. And the demon guy, he is like, I don't know, there was something specific about this horse. And he isn't freaked out or anything by anything that's supernatural or crazy, because that's the world he's from. And so then he takes off. And also the protagonist, I guess, the good guy, he is also a thief. And that's how he makes it, because he was a foster kid who came up on a little boat, and, he never had any family, and so he's a thief. And so the horse is taken off with him. And then he ends up, it's some big mansion place, and he's going to steal from them or something. He goes in, and then this girl sitting there playing the piano or something, singing, and he falls in love with her. So they start this big romance. Well, then the bad guy, he finds out, and so he wants to find the girl because then he can find the guy. And the whole thing is something about he wants to do this guy in because he saved him as a kid, and now he should be a minion, and so he won't be, so he's going to kill him. So the guy falls in love with the girl, and she's got consumption, and so she's going to die. She's 21 years old, and she's going to die from something. I don't even know what consumption is, but by what it seemed like she had was some kind of heart condition. So, anyways, but then it ended up that the demon guy killed her. So, and they thought that this was like, I don't know, the most common term, I guess, would be like twin flame or something. That this was his destined soul partner. And so they wanted to kill her. And he knew he was here to save some redheaded girl. And she had red hair. And so, and then sometimes they would use this Pegasus to get around and escape from them. It was really cool how this horse would take off running and fly. And then there's parts where the demon guy's in there talking to Will Smith, the Lucifer guy, and he's creepy on some parts. But then so they kill the girl, and the guy's distraught. So he kind of like turns himself in, like he is in a place where this guy can find him. And the guy comes with like 100 fucking guys to come and kill him. And the horse is there. They try and trap the horse. The horse escapes. Well, the guy helps the horse escape so the horse can get away. And then he just stands there and takes it. And then the demon guy decides he's not letting the minions do this. He's going to do it himself. So he beats him up and then throws him over this bridge, like the Golden Gate Bridge kind of thing. Only this is all in New York. So off some big, huge bridge, he goes down, hits in the water, but it doesn't kill him. So then the next thing is he's in 2014 and he hasn't aged at all. So he's the same exactly as he was. And only now he is lost. He doesn't remember who he is. So he's been wandering around for like 100 years. And he has no idea who he is, what he's doing here. He just knows there's some redheaded girl he's supposed to fix. There's some draw he has to this lady. He can't think of who she is, though. So then I think he looks in his belongings or something. It starts coming back to him, who he is. And so he then, once he remembers who he is, the demon suddenly knows he knows. Because he's got some kind of connection to him. So then he goes to Lucifer and says, hey, I'm going to go kill this guy. And so Lucifer says the only way you can do it is if you, because the Lucifer guy, it makes all these restrictions on them, on the demons. The demons are, just do whatever they want, I guess, or they would, except for the Lucifer guy, he puts guidelines. And so so he says you have to fight him as a human. And there's like a lot of cool scenes, but then he finds that it's this other girl he's supposed to be saving, but there's this whole part where he remembers who he is. He goes to this place because he wants to find more information out. And they tell him it's going to be weeks or whatever. Somebody's sitting there listening and they have access. So they take him back there and they're looking through and he starts remembering. He remembers the house. He remembers the girl and all that stuff. And he's like, they've been dead 100 years. And in the pictures, while the girl's sitting there helping him, he's in one of the pictures. And she's like, how in the world can this be? How are you here? Like, how, what? And so he says, I don't know. I don't know how I'm still here. I don't know how I'm not aging. And there's also this cool part, too, where the girl who dies talks about going and becoming a star. Because I'm telling you, that's what the stars are. The stars are orbs of, it's like souls. And like they want to tell us, oh, no, it's just this sparkling things in the sky. No, it's just souls. And or yeah, it's like souls even in craft or whatever, can be a group of them, but that's what it is. It's more of souls. But anyways, in this movie she says, when I die I'll go up and be a star. And so then he the girl is like, how can this be? And he's like, I have no idea. And he's like, everybody's been dead for like 100 years or something. She said, well, not everybody. And then I knew it was going to be the little girl, the little sister, the girl he loved. And because they would talk a lot when she was little. And so he goes to meet her, and she's an old lady now. But she's still, going out there and getting things done. I don't know how old she's supposed to be, 110, and still working and stuff. So anyways, but they go and she gets to talk to him and he talks to her and stuff. And she's like, well, in all my years, like I have learned that there's miracles. And so he, remembers more who he is and stuff like that. And then he starts understanding it's when he sees the little girl, because she's wearing a scarf, because she has the big C. And that's when he sees a little bit of her hair sticking out, and he sees that she has red hair, and then he realizes he's there to help her. He's the savior for her. And so he starts going, and then at the same time, the demons are on their trail, and so they get on the horse. There's a whole cool thing with that flying thing. But by the time that he does, it isn't like he dies. It's more like he finishes what he came to do. He gets on the horse, they take off, and this like spark of light happens. And then he goes up and he goes and is the star next to the other star. Ah, it's gonna make me cry. It was really, really good, I thought. It was different than I thought it was gonna be. But the only thing that to me is because I don't like believe in like the devil and Lucifer and all of that stuff, but I do believe in the dark energy, that there's a lot, but it's not, to me, there is like dark gods, there's gods of the dark energy, and we are under the control of the dark energy, but it's just the perception that people have over the devil and Lucifer and God and stuff like that. It, to me, is not accurate. It's it's not the way that we perceive. So that's why I'm like, I don't believe in that concept of what people believe about Lucifer and devil and all of that stuff. I think it's, but there's definitely dark energy. But we are surrounded by people who are sellouts to the dark energy, but it's not just like sellouts. It's like they're following a dark path inside of themselves and they don't know how to break free. Like they're trying to fill themselves up, like this, like Bonnie Blue or whatever her name is, trying to get attention or fulfill herself by selling herself. Well, yeah, I guess it is selling herself, by selling herself. And then it's like dark attention. It's like dark energy. And but then they think that they're doing something good for themselves or something. So it's like this broken part of people who buy in to the representation of the dark energy, kind of. Which I saw a girl, I didn't watch her whole video, I just saw it for a few seconds, but she was like bawling her head off, and she was saying, that people are mean to her or whatever when they find out that she's a OF person and that's how she makes her money. But she said, people don't understand, like I'm an orphan. I've got nobody. I've got nothing. That's all I've got. And it's very, humiliating to have to feed yourself. And then she said, and I'm trying to help others. I'm trying to help, my siblings and stuff like that. So see what I mean? Is like, it's like the dark energy opens its pockets for you to buy into, but it pulls on something inside of you. It's like, and it doesn't want to let go. And that's why each individual has to witness or recognize it for themselves so that they can figure out how to pull themselves free, how you can pull yourself out of it, because it will hold on to you. It doesn't want to let go of you. And it's very misleading, and it pulls on the parts of you that are broken. It pulls on the parts that are insecure and desperate and sad and scared. And that's where the dark energy attaches to you. That's why it starts out when we're young, and we're confused and what are we doing here? And who are these people? And why are they mean to me? Why can't I never make them happy? And it starts being, your emotional whirlwind of trying to understand, like, what the fuck am I doing in this place? And that dark energy just starts going like a magnet and feeding off of that. And then it wants to keep you in that energy, doesn't want you to break free because it's your supper now. So it needs you to stay in that same kind of tension. And so it wants to keep you destroyed. It's the whole part of this whole system. And that is like, where some people think it's like hell, the devil, and demons and stuff, but it's this energetic force. And it's what feeds off of what energy. And so it's magnetic. And that's the whole thing. I know that has something to do with this whole Donald thing with the magnetism and stuff. It's like you got to start realizing that what you put out is magnetized to you. It is, you pull it in, and you have to be more aware of what your energy is so that you aren't, you don't have all this darkness attached to you. But I know in this period of time on the planet, that is what this is about, is to recognize and start purging and cleansing yourself. It's the great cleanse. Even in the micro macro, it's the cleansing of the earth. That's why things are going to go under the water and stuff, because these places have become toxic. Like, you think like California, oh, it's great and everybody's having a good time and stuff, but they are drawing the energy out from there. It's kind of like, like you have this nice house, and then somebody decides to have a party, and all these people come and start wrecking your stuff. And it's kind of like that. It's like, California is the party that just won't go away. New York, all these places. And they start destroying the world that's there. And they just play a part of it, like, oh yeah, we're going to go in and take all that out and put houses. We're going to destroy this. We're going to pollute the water. We're going to, all of the destruction. And so it's a lot of dark energy. And that's why it's getting the cleansing. It's this great cleansing. And so everything is going to go. And that's why these big volcanoes and earthquakes and stuff is like the earth giving feedback. It's the feedback to what it is that we have done. This is what we put out comes back. And even though we were misled, we still have something inside of us that is trying to speak to us. And this is why we need to start tuning into that and stop tuning into the loudest voices in the room, which are the most negative. And so that is why at this period of time in the micro macro, this is about the cleansing of your soul, and the realization, and having to understand that you've allowed these dark attachments, you've allowed this energy to attach to you. Oh my goodness, I gotta get that stuff. Right now, man, I'm already over, and things are gonna start trying to come out. I'm not gonna be able to. But, fuck, man, I really want to get this inflammation stuff for her. Fuck. It's always decisions. Do I just go in and get it and then deal with what's next? Because there's a lot of this. So, anyways, but that's, how I see it. That's why this whole time is this period of time, this cleansing your soul, this awakening to your soul and your awareness, and looking at things deeper, understanding yourself on a deeper level, and taking more authority over yourself, and the all of that stuff, all the stuff I've been saying. So, anyways, better get a rocket and rolling on the next thing, because I cannot think when this is going on. So, anyways, but that's what's happening here. And that's what our opportunity is. And our window of time seems to be closing in on us. Okay, lady. So our window of time seems to be closing in on us. And especially if, any of these predictions are accurate, it's going to get crazy when some of this shit goes down. Like, fuck, man. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I've been living on the West Coast for so long, so like, I know, lots of people on the West Coast. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, the guy on Reddit, he's telling everybody, get the hell out of there. It was that other guy who a couple of years ago or something was in California saying, get out of California. Like, so many people know this is coming. And we just don't know, you just don't know the exact date and time unless this guy's accurate or the other kid. So, I don't know. We'll see. She's so stiff. So, anyways, but that's where we're at. And so we'll see, what more things happen today. I just can't even believe it's already after the end, towards the end of the week. It's like, God, it's so crazy. I can't believe it's already Thursday. Time is just like sweeping by, man. It's going so fast. And definitely, I don't know where everybody else's sky is like, but I'm telling you, the sky over here in Idaho is insane. And even the videos I do don't even give it justice. Like, it is no way to what I'm really seeing. It is wild. And there's so much color, and there's so many distinct different skies. It's like, here's this, over here's this, over here's this. And so definitely there's a whole to me it is this merging of these realities, and the thing is it's about vibration and dimensional pull. And so there's a whole part of your mind you have to let go of the physical world as we know it, because it's so different than what we've been told and taught. So anyways, but, you know, the main thing to me to be working on is you. And to do that, you have to learn how to love yourself. It's just a part of the process. You have to know your own value. You have to admire yourself. Like, look at yourself like you have value, like in self-respect. And it's a whole thing. So you got to learn how to love yourself. You got to learn how to love everybody. Everybody. Doesn't matter. You got to learn how to love them. And that's the world we want to have, is a world of love and acceptance. And then we have to figure out how to start learning how to do it and letting go of things so that we can be what it is that we want. And learning how to have the day that we want to have, learning how to look at what it is, what things make you happy. And that doesn't mean just ignore the bad things, but, you know, I don't know. I have an awareness of a lot of bad things, but I don't just sit there and, you know, like I'm just going to beat myself down watching them. It's like knowing them is just like, it's plenty for me. It's like, but to me, there's like such a thing about that being an observation, seeing it, processing through your pain and suffering through all of the things that we're witnessing. But understanding that this is all happening for a reason, and it's a big reason, but it's going to, you know, be bad, but it's going to flip into something good. And so that's what we're in this process of having happen. That's the pole shift. That's when everything turns the other direction. So anyways, that's what's going on as far as I'm concerned. And we'll see what this day brings us, what the offering is of the day today. There is a lot more going with the money thing. So, but everything is just like speeding up and closing in. So anyways, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But now, yeah, it's the 11th. Isn't it? Did I say the 11th? Or did I say the 10th? No, I think it's the 11th. Because I think I said the 417 on the 11th. So, yeah, the 9th was Tuesday. Wednesday the 10th. So the 11th. Man, that's wild. So, anyways, we'll see what this day brings us. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.